boys and girls, and welcome to today's United Kingdom Talk. Myself, Chris Reardon, we're coming towards the middle. Well, we are in the middle of July, aren't we now? The middle of July. Where's the time gone? Come on. Where is that? We are now closer to the next Christmas than we were to last Christmas. Where's the time gone? As my nan used to say, it's all gone so quickly. It's all gone so quickly. Now, today, I am wearing a denim shirt. I'm actually looking, I think today, like one of the original members of the Village People. Yeah! Oh, come on, boys and girls. Let's do it together. No. Just a minute. Just a minute. No. We're not doing that. We are not, absolutely not doing that. Well, it gives the wrong impression, you see. It does give the wrong... Anyone would think for one moment that this programme was camp, which is a liberty. Did you know all members of the Village People didn't necessarily bat for the other team? No, it's true. You see, you can be camp and not gay. I know a lot of people are camp. A certain person at RTI who I think is very camp and does not bat. He's as straight as anything, but he's as camp as a Christmas tree. Do you know normal straight people who are camp? Spill the beans, let me know who they are. Maybe a member of your family is very, very camp, but is as straight as the eye can see. Depending on, of course, whether you're wearing glasses or not. Believe me, you can be straight and camp. I know a lot of people like that. Now, I was also very aware, after watching the last show, of me fidgeting. I did a lot of fidgeting in the last show. I kept going up and down like that and moving around like this. I was fidgeting a lot. And one of the reasons for this is because I'm a short person. I am only about, I think I'm only about 5'6" high. And this chair doesn't kind of go up high enough to make me sit here comfortably. And I keep sitting, because it's one of those leather ones, you're leaning, I'm going to lean back, you're leaning back and you fall down, you see. Oh, the noises have started. No, the noises have started now, I'm sorry. I was hoping, I do have a mild form of Tourette's syndrome. It is true. Oh, please, for God's sake, don't start saying, oh, you're making fun of... I'm not making fun of anyone. Get a sense of humour. Oh, it does annoy me, that does, doesn't it you? Have you ever done anything, you know, to make people laugh? It's like, oh, and the faces, certain faces go serious. Oh, you're making fun of that. Oh, please, go and get a sense of humour. You've got to learn to laugh at yourself, dear. Suko once said to me, do you ever worry that people are laughing at you instead of with you? And I answered to Suko, absolutely not. I don't care how they laugh or smile, just laugh or smile. Laugh at me if you want to, I don't care. I don't care. There are probably comedians at the moment that have watched all of these shows or listened to all of these shows, and I wonder if there ever be... Okay, I wonder if there will ever be a Chris Reardon tribute act. People that come on stage and do me. Do you think you could do that? Could you do that? Set yourself up a little camera and do me. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that. Let me know if you can. Okay, the email address of the show is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Now, I can't remember. I was talking to someone last night on the phone, and for some reason, it got onto the subject of lifts or elevators. And as a child, back in the 70s, it was so different then. We seem to have a bit of a problem here in the UK at the moment with knife crime. It seems now that barely a day goes by without some child or young person being knifed. Some of them dying. And it's the most dreadful thing. And I don't understand what's gone on there. I think there's always been fights between children. I was very fortunate. I don't think I had any fights at all. There's always been fights, but it's much more serious now when children are knifing each other. I don't quite understand what's going on there. Do you know what? I have a feeling some of it is due to the way then it's on all the TV news channels all the time, and people watch it and, oh, where do that now? And I wonder if it is. Some of these children, of course, carry around knives for protection. And I wonder, is it much of a problem wherever you are in the world? I'd like to know that. Please let me know. Chris@UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk. But it is getting rather worrying. I heard a news item yesterday that the police in the last week arrested 200 people for carrying a knife. Which is fair enough, unless you've got some reason to do it. You're, I don't know, a butcher or perhaps a carpet layer. Then you would have one of those, what do they call it? The Stanley knives, isn't it? Or something like that. Now you can have a knife then. But for children to go out and carrying, oh, it's horrifying. Interesting enough, it doesn't tend to be adults who are being knifed. It is children of their own age. They have a row in the school, and instead of having a bit of a punch-up, they knife each other. Awful, awful. And from that rather serious conversation, we got onto the subject of what did you do as children? What sort of naughty things did you do? And one of the things I used to do when I lived in Roehampton, which is in southwest London, with my mum and dad and sister, we used to play in lifts and elevators. Yes. Have you ever done that? You used to go in the lift on the bottom floor, push the button, go up and go down again and get out again at the bottom. Great fun. All for nothing. You don't have to pay anything, dear. Did anyone else play in elevators? And what's the other one you'd do is someone would be in the lift and you'd be outside the lift, and then they would, you mustn't do this, ever so dangerous. The one in the lift would push the button, or, no, that's wrong, no, be one in the lift, one outside the lift, and then, you know the door closes automatically, doesn't it? We would wait until we heard the door start closing, and then we'd run and see if we could get still in the lift while the door was closing or not. How stupid and dangerous was that? Only mildly less dangerous, I suppose, than playing on train lines, isn't it? Or anything like that, which you mustn't do it. I never did that. But you do hear these stories of people, children dying through running across train lines playing chicken. I suppose I did the same thing really with lift doors. Did you do anything stupid like that as a child? I want to know about it. Chris@UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk. Now, I do watch these. I have seen a TV series and a film called Jackass. Have you seen that? They're not exactly children, youths, or several youths, I would say, who do stupid things like ride down really steep hills on mountain bikes with no brakes and no way of stopping. Absolute madness and so dangerous. But I shouldn't say this. An awful lot of fun, I think. Have you ever done anything like that? What dangerous kind of thing, stupid thing, did you do as a child? I bet you did something, didn't you? What did you do as a child that you think now, my God, I was lucky to get away with that? Do let us know. Join in the show, OK? Chris@UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk. Now, there is a postal address as well, which I'll be giving to you around about halfway through the show. Right? There's also a large box has arrived for me. Look at this. Look at this. Someone has sent this in here to the studios at United Kingdom. And I've got no... Let's see if I can smell anything. Now, it says fragile on the side, so I can't shake it. Look at this size of this box. And I have no idea what's in that. I know it's come from the States, and I know it's come from our cat lover, Susan. But I honestly have no idea what's in that box. So I shall be opening that later on, all right? I've got my letter opener standing by. Now, this came from Cyprus. A dear old lady bought me this letter opener. She actually had a little holiday home in Cyprus. The lady's name was called Jean Hyland, and I worked with her for many years when I was a BT 142 directory inquiry operator. 142 no longer exists, it's a different number now. I worked with her for about 10 years, and we became very close friends. She died a few years ago. She was in her 70s. And she had, as I say, she had a little holiday home in Cyprus, which she loved. Once she retired, she spent some time there. And she brought me back. Isn't that nice? So I shall be opening your box later on in the show, Susan, OK? Right, lots of emails have come in this week. First of all, I've got a couple of replies here to Toby's email in Japan. OK? I also personally replied to Toby, telling him what things I did as well, but I'll come on to that in a second. But Toby basically sent an email into the last show and was saying how Japan is concerned about global warming. And he was saying how he feels Americans haven't done an awful lot to help global warming slow down, and some other little bits and pieces in there. Now, the email was quite long, so I don't want to read the whole thing again. If you missed that, then just go back to the last show, which is the one dated I think it's the 15th, hang on line. Yeah, it's the one dated the 15th of July, if you want to hear that email. And it's towards the end of the show, OK? It's quite a long email from Toby. Some a little bit controversial, a little bit more serious than we do on this show, usually, to be honest. However, an email was sent in. I always say that everyone deserves the right to say whatever they want, and as long as it doesn't really incite racism or invite people to bomb places or anything like that. We don't want any of that here. But everyone deserves an opinion on whatever, and he had one, and I read it out. Now, although the show is, of course, recorded a week in advance, I did pass the email on, although not the email address. I would never, ever give your email address to anyone. That goes for anyone, OK? I will never pass on your email address to anyone, unless, of course, you ask me to do so. Maybe one wants to contact another. Then I will say, well, give me your email, and I'll pass it on. But I will never, you have my absolute... Cross me heart, OK? Cross me heart on that one. Also, similarly, if you ever want to say anything in private to me, that is not to go... What was that noise? I'm going to hear a clicking noise then. If you ever want to say anything private to me, then just put at the top of your email, not for broadcast, and that's our private correspondence as well, and that will never be read out, OK? Also, sometimes we do things anonymously. For example, I did say to you just a few moments ago, did you do anything really naughty as a child? Now, there might be something you did there that could get you in terrible trouble. But you still want to tell me about it and you still want it read out. That's okay. Just say, please don't reveal my name while I'm telling you this at the top of the email, and I'll read it out, but without your name, okay? You can trust me always, as other recent writers of emails will let you know. Well, before, in previous programmes, emails have come in and people haven't wanted their identity mentioned, and indeed I haven't, okay? So you've always got my promise on that one. Now, let me just clear my throat. Right, first of all, Suko replies to Toby in Japan. As I say, if you missed that email, it's in the last show, towards the end, sort of the last 15 minutes of the show, and it's the show dated the 15th of July. Now, to find that, just go to the main United Kingdom Talk website, and you can either watch or indeed listen to the show there. It's at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk, okay? unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Right then, here's the email from Suko. And she says, in response to Toby in Japan, well, I have to preface what I'm going to write by saying that everyone is entitled to their opinion. Since my family is American, Irish, Chinese and Japanese, I think I'm a good representative to defend the Americans. I am first and foremost American, and as most of you know, live here in New York. And I must tell you that just about every person I know is concerned about global warming. My family and friends, for the most part, are doing what they can to save the planet. And we belong to all kinds of organisations working hard towards this goal. Greenpeace, the World Wildlife Fund, Peacesmith, which I don't know that one actually. What's that one, Suko? Peacesmith. Haven't heard of that one, my darling, to name but a few. Everywhere you go, you see signs saying go green. We are all trying to do our part by using energy-saving products, conserving water, recycling and contributing to the above-mentioned organisations. The Americans get a bad rap from everyone. I have to tell you, when something bad happens in the world, the Americans are the first to respond. After the tsunami, the recent earthquake in China, and the cyclone in Myanmar, there were and still are pleas on television and radio and signs all over the place asking for help. And we do respond. Unfortunately, although we are a democratic society, we don't always have control over what the government does. It is it fair, she says, to judge a whole country by what the governments decide to do or not to do? And this is what I was saying on the last show, Suko. I did feel that our emailer, Toby, was judging the entire country on just a few people. And I just really don't think you can do that. It would be like we have this whole thing with Robert Mugabe at the moment, haven't we? Who has had 2 elections. One which voted for the other bloke. So then he didn't get out of the way and held another one with the other bloke getting out and kind of put himself back in power again. Now, if you watch all the news stories from all around the world, most of them say that Robert Mugabe isn't a particularly nice person for various different reasons. You've all seen the news shows. But does that mean we judge his whole country by how he is? Of course we don't, do we? Suko says, do you think Americans hate the Chinese, Iranians and the Cubans, Somali people, because of the way they have to live under communist and dictatorial governments? Of course not. Of course they don't. Quite often you get a row between different politicians. But you cannot judge all the people like that. I could take you into nightclubs here in the UK where I work, or bars, and sitting in those bars will be people from all over the world. Quite often I've had perhaps an Iranian come on the stage, okay, and join in something that's going on. They don't get booed. They're not hated. In fact, sometimes, and I don't think I can really say what they say, but sometimes they turn the whole thing into a joke. The very people that are from the so-called countries that do send out terrorists and that sort of thing. But the whole of Iran or Iraq, the whole of these countries are not terrorists. It's just a few extremists. Of course, Americans do not hate Chinese, Iraqis, Cubans, Somali people, or anyone else for that matter. We all have rows, don't we? How many people do you know who are in the really unfortunate situation of not getting on with the person next door? I mean, that must be one of the worst things, don't you think? Say you've got a neighbour who lives in the next house to you and you hate each other. But you don't then hate the rest of the town that you live in, do you? There is good and there is bad. And just because a few people are bad in one country doesn't mean the entire country is bad, does it? Suko carries on to say, one more thing I have to add is that I've been to Japan several times and I have to say they are lovely, gracious people who, like Americans, enjoy conveniences, freedom and pleasure. Thank you, Suko. That just about sums it up there. I was just thinking that bit where you said go green. Perhaps we should have a day where we all dye our hair green. What do you reckon on that one, eh? What do you mean I wouldn't need much dye in my hair? Oh, thanks very much, you lot. Honestly, we try and have a serious conversation and you just sit there laughing at me all the time. It's not fair. Stop laughing at my hairless hair. I'll just move. Oh, look, my God, did you see it was shining then? It was. I put my head down towards the camera and it was shining, boys and girls. I'm going to have to have it painted black. That's it. Well, we're not back. We'll do the hair dye first. I do think that all listeners to this show should show solidarity and all go out one day and dye our hair green. Eh? Shall we do that? I'll tell you what, Toby. That's what we'll do. We'll dye our hair green, all people from all nations, and all come to Japan to show you that we are doing our best, my dear. All right? I've got a good way of making light of a situation, don't worry. And one more reply for your email, Toby, okay? Now, your email was pretty hard-hitting, really. And we got a hard-hitting reply here. Now, this is from our friend Joe. And Joe, also in America, says, interesting, after hearing your email, Toby. He says, I take it this is a new listener to your programme. I pray it's a new listener. A seasoned United Kingdom Talk listener. Well, I don't even know the name of my own show, do I? A seasoned United Kingdom Talk listener would have a higher degree of acquired learning regarding tolerance and would ask more direct questions to Americans about Americans before spewing words like hate and selfish and phrases like USA, let it die. So let's just spend a brief moment with a couple of bits and pieces. Counterpoint 1. The listener writes, quote, how selfish are those Americans? They enjoyed their convenience, freedom and pleasure, but they ignored many people in developing countries suffering due to their enjoyment. Now, Joe writes, Chris, in 2004, selfish Americans gave 91 billion US dollars, that's about 46 billion pounds. Did you hear that figure? 91 billion US dollars, 46 billion pounds. And they gave this to foreign countries for foreign aid. 71 billion dollars of that cash came from everyday Americans. Not organisations, just normal people who do normal jobs. And I'm sure there were plenty there that gave more than they could afford, perhaps going without something else themselves. I have to say to you, I've never done that. I've never given so much money that it affects my own position. OK, yeah, I put a few coins in boxes here and a few coins in boxes there. But but I've never given so much money that it has affected my personal position. Other people have. I've done charity nights before, only to see people putting sometimes wads of cash into boxes. Can they afford it or not? That doesn't matter. Nevertheless, they are putting in an awful lot of money in there. Here's a news story from ABC. It says, the fact that most America's charitable gifts come from volunteers, not government, demonstrates that Americans are different from people in every other country. And again, no other country comes close, said Arthur Brooks, a professor of public administration at Syracuse University, I think I got that right. Brooks studies charitable giving and has a new book, Who Really Cares? America's Charity Divide. And that's a little bit more here. If you want to talk figures, the fact is that Americans give more than the citizens of any other country. It is also, of course, Joe, a larger country than many others as well. So that's got something to do with it as well, I believe. They also volunteer more. Brooks said Americans per capita individually give about 3.5 times more money per year than the French per capita, 7 times more than the Germans, and 14 times more than the Italians. Joe goes on to say, America is the most generous nation on the face of the earth. If this newbie listener would like to give me specific points of self-absorption, I am sure we could have a spirited debate as we compare and contrast populations. Counterpoint 2 from Joe says, for what it's worth, the global economic juggernaut known as China should be given careful scrutiny regarding global warming. I am not about to sit here and say that Americans have not contributed and caused vast amounts of damage to our environment. We indeed have. Americans are also a determined and resourceful lot, which is probably one of the reasons we are disliked. American consumers and American industry is now responding to the challenge of the global marketplace. Case in point, our current worldwide oil, gas and petrol situation. Alternatives will rapidly appear to be the consumption of fossil fuels. Alternatives will rapidly appear to the consumption of fossil fuels. Don't believe me, just watch and learn. And we've all seen these alternatives now coming along. I myself, of course, as I like to mention now and again, because I do get quite excited when my solar panels are chucking out the electricity, just some flat pieces of rather expensive glass, I suppose, sitting on the roof, creating electricity. It's so clever. I just am amazed how that works. And you go downstairs and watch the electricity meter going backwards. Now, at this point of the year, the sun is quite high in the sky. And my electricity meter has gone back to the 10th of April. So since the 10th of April, I have made, via my solar panels, all the electricity I've needed and turned the meter backwards 3 months. It's good, isn't it? And I just think it's so clever how that works. Very expensive to have such things installed. However, I feel like I'm doing my part and, of course, saving a lot of money from electricity bills. Here in the UK, our bills have gone up astronomically in the last year or two. other things are coming along as well, aren't they? Joe goes on to say, the marketplace always wins, like it or not. The business people. There are, of course, many people all over the world, in all different countries, who have no interest in saving anyone but getting richer. We all know those people. We all know those people. Collectively, though, everyone else can make a difference. Forget about these sad little individuals who do nothing but think about how much more money they can make. Their entire life is spent wondering how they can make more money, rather than benefiting all of us. Joe goes on to say, I'm concerned that the advent of electric cars will lead to further degradation of the environment if the virtually unregulated Chinese coal-burning plants go unchecked for soaring pollution as the demand for electricity skyrockets. Now, I have to say here, on the subject of America and indeed the UK chucking out the pollution for years and years. Well, we did. But we didn't know then. We didn't realise what damage was being done. No one knew. Well, maybe a very few scientists knew way back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, when the whole industrial revolution, certainly here in the UK and Europe and indeed America, was taking place. We didn't realise that. I certainly didn't when I was younger. Well, I just thought you lit a fire, smoke went up and disappeared. Now we realise, well, actually, it had to go somewhere. And it's ended up on one of the poles. I've saw a couple of programmes on television, and they were saying, if you go like to the top of the world, there's the most awful stench there of all the world's pollution gathering. I don't know if it's true or not. And another news story told me that there is a great big kind of you know, like all the fish together. What's it called when loads of fish swim together? Is it a shoal of fish? Is it a shoal? I can't remember now. A shoal of fish, possibly. But there's also a big shoal of plastic bottles and things just floating around in the ocean somewhere. I wonder how many of us have thrown something into the sea before, thinking that it will just disappear. It doesn't, does it? Hangs around there forever. And the same things happens with the industrial world. So we now know. We now know that burning all these fossil fuels is causing damage. So when countries come along and say, but you did it for years and years, I think it's a reasonably good excuse to say, but we didn't know. I feel sorry for people who die of diseases like lung cancer. But it's similar with the smoking. If you get lung cancer and you don't smoke, have never touched a cigarette, you know, I'm really sorry. But if you get lung cancer now due to smoking, then I can turn around and say, but you knew this would happen. Again, going back to the 40s and 50s, when people smoked then, they didn't know. It wasn't till all these people started dying of lung cancer. Hang on a minute, what's going on here? What's causing that? Hardened smokers will tell you that there's no proof. You know there is. We now know that smoking causes lung cancer, so don't smoke. Similarly, with pollution, We now know that driving great big cars around causes damage. We didn't know then. When we were doing it, when the Americans and the English were doing it, or the Europeans were doing it, all of us, when we were doing it, we didn't realise the damage that has been caused and is still being caused. So we are now trying to do something about it. And you know what, Toby? Even if all the countries don't sign up to these agreements, it doesn't mean all the other countries shouldn't bother. Because sometimes you have to set an example and hope others will follow. Sometimes it's hard to get other people on board. You ever been in a classroom at school maybe, and a few people are doing something but the others don't want to know? The other kids in the classroom don't want to know. And let's face it, a lot of politicians are like kids, aren't they? They're awful. You see them squabbling away, and then they get angry. It's quite good when they get angry. You ever watch them? I don't know if you can watch any of the Houses of Parliament programmes. I always sit there and chuckle to myself. Like a load of blooming children on a playground, some of these politicians. But similar with a classroom. Okay? So you've got a group of children doing something. Maybe the others are not taking much notice. Eventually, some of those taking no notice will come over and have a look and get interested. And Toby, I think it's the same situation with countries that perhaps have not signed up yet. Just because they haven't signed up doesn't mean everyone else should not start going about and doing something about it. So the argument that says, but you've had the economic success of burning fossil fuels and things to do with that industry and whatever. You've had it, so why can't we have it now? Because now we know. Now we know the problems that are caused by burning all this stuff. There are already big alternatives. There's also much here in the UK that needs to be done. One personal thing, as I say, I now have the experience of having had my solar panels up on the roof for nearly a year and a half and have seen them work and work well. Unfortunately, I'm not a south-facing roof, so I can't produce all the electricity I require on the small roof that I have. However, I am making a difference. One of the things I think the government here in the UK needs to do is instruct all new houses, all the new people, all the house builders building new houses, to stick solar panels on the roof as the houses are being built. That's the cheapest way to do it. A retrofit like mine is relatively expensive in comparison to having them fitted while the house is being built. I think every new house, as long as it's in the right position, facing the right way, should have solar panels here in the UK, and if it's windy enough, perhaps a small wind turbine on the side. At least it's a start. Trouble is, in these politic things, and they all want to spend so much time there chatting away with each other. Let's go back to the email from Joe here. He also, incidentally, there is a website, and I'm just trying to remember what it's called, renewableenergy.com, possibly something like that. There's a very, very good podcast. That's it. Inside, hang on, look, I'll tell you what, I'll find it for you now, because I know we have a lot of people interested in this now. Let me just find you this. Oh, I'm going to have to fire up my browser now, aren't I? Just a second. Where are we? I think, no, I won't give it to you until I've found it. Oh, I've lost where's my browser button gone? Oh, I can't find it. It's disappeared. Has it? Where's my browser? Have you got my browser? There it is. I've found it. Mozilla Firefox. I use Firefox. Anyone else use Firefox? It's good, isn't it? Right, let's have a quick look here. and see if we can bring up the website for the Renewable Energy podcast. I think I've got it right. Let's see if that's the one. I bet it's not the right one. Yes. Oh, no, no. Hang on. Hang on. Inside. Renewable energy. Inside renewable energy. I reckon that's the one. I think that's... Oh, there it is. Oh, hang on. There we are. Let me see if I've got the right one. There it is. This is a podcast that's, I think it's weekly, and it's something that I listen to, hosted by a guy called Stephen Lacey, and he's really into it. He looks, I've got his picture up on the screen, a young lad, and it's funny, isn't it? Most people into all this renewable stuff, when you see them being interviewed on the television, they're all relatively young, sort of between the age of 20 and 35. Have you noticed that? A lot of the time, these are younger people, and they know how important this stuff is. Okay, now this guy's called Stephen Lacey. His website is renewableenergyworld.com. All right, renewableenergyworld.com. And as I say, he does a weekly I think it's a weekly podcast, and it's really good. Tells you all the new technical developments, what governments around the world are doing to combat this sort of thing. And you know, it is a subject close to my own heart. I'm just fascinated by how we can actually make all this electricity. I also actually believe that we now have vehicles and things like that that do not need petrol and oil. We haven't seen them yet. Well, we've seen a few electric cars, but we haven't seen the majority of them yet because there's still oil left, and there's still money to be made from oil, and that's why. That's what I believe anyway. Anyway, have a little look at that, or have a little listen to one of those podcasts. It's very good indeed. Back to the email from Joe, and he includes these quotes from the New York Times, Reuters, okay? It says, since we referenced the Kyoto Protocol, here is a superb article, and below is a direct quote. Also note the article was written in 2006, and the problem is escalating. More about China in a moment. Quote, unless China finds a way to clean up its coal plants and the thousands of factories that burn coal, pollution will soar both at home and abroad. The increase in global warming gases from China's coal use will probably exceed that for all industrial countries combined over the next 25 years, surpassing by 5 times the reduction in such emissions that the Kyoto Protocol seeks. There's a quote there. Yes, but Joe, I still say, just because one country isn't listening doesn't mean we all have to say, oh, well, let's leave it out then. You know, we'll just carry on doing what we're doing. Because if that's the case, we won't get anywhere, as I know you'll agree with that. If we all said that, that's it. We've got no chance. So we've got to try, haven't we? Joe also says, Chris, I also find it interesting that your listener from Japan, and he puts in brackets, the most notorious dumping nation on earth, wants to boycott American industry when we, selfish Americans, he's quoting there, of course, have embraced every Japanese intrusion into our free market economic system. The listener obviously has no idea the impact of the Japanese manufacturing systems and analytic sorry, it's one of those words, analytical techniques have had on the manufacturing base of America. But our government did nothing to stop it. The free market system, and indeed capitalism, thrives on the principles of economic freedom. But I digress. I need to run for now. However, I appreciate you sending me this very much indeed so I can respond on the next show. I'll leave you with one simple thought to ponder. Immigration. Like it or not, like us or not, America is the greatest nation on the face of the planet, and people from every tongue and tribe line up on her shores seeking opportunity, peace, and prosperity. For me, the one word out of those three is peace. How long are the immigration entrance queues at Tokyo's Narita International Airport? Love and peace with you all. So there we are. A couple of replies for Toby's email there. And some very good points, all of them there. But I find myself still going back to that bit where the industrialised countries are having a go at by some other countries. You've had it, we want it now. But we didn't know the damage we were causing. Now you do. So the choice is, do you carrying on damaging, or do you find another way? I also personally replied to Toby explaining what some of the things I have done personally to reduce my carbon emissions here in the Mirable Studios. And Toby wrote here, Chris, I know you try your best to reduce your emissions. I am a year behind you now. I am actually listening to last year's shows. He says, I just wanted to give you the latest news of the summit. The USA claims that would join the Kyoto Protocol if China and India joined together with them. Otherwise, they will lose their competitiveness to those countries. That's just all excuses, isn't it? Of course, I think China should join the protocol, but they will have other excuses. This is why it's so hard, Toby. There's always excuses why one country wants to do it or one country doesn't want to do it. It's very, very difficult. Very difficult when you see all those politicians around the table. Of course, you know, I have a feeling if we got a load of youngsters, say around the ages of 20, 23 around a table like that, I think most of them would actually agree on it. It's only because the politicians and perhaps people of my own age have got used to a way of life. And also I think once you get to a certain age, you don't like change so much. You're used to doing things a certain way. Let's see. Of course, I think China should join the protocol, but they will have other excuses. Yeah, I read that. It's just impossible to make the deal. This country accuses this. He's not mentioning a specific country here. Toby's generalising here, I think. He says, this country accuses this, that country accuses that. We are just going to die altogether. You do wonder, don't you? But we have to try. We have to try. I remember seeing an interview on the telly with Larry Hagman, JR from Dallas, of course, and he also played the part in what the Genie, the lamp, Genie. Do you remember Genie? And I loved that bloke, Larry Hagman, someone I'd love to meet. And he's got a farm with loads of solar panels and pays very, very little in electricity since he had these panels installed. Of course, he's got the money to be able to do it. I know that. We don't all have that money. I know that. And governments all across the world should do a lot more to make things like solar panels and that more affordable to people. And they were asking him, do you think, you know, if everyone started doing solar panels and wind turbines and this, that and the other, do you think we can save the planet? And Larry Hagman stood there, laughed, shook his head and said, no, it's too late now, but we can have an awful lot of fun trying. Maybe there's some truth in that. I don't know. Or maybe it's not too late. Toby says, by the way, I want to mention, this is on a similar but different subject. All women like to buy new clothes. Like my girlfriend. She buys new clothes every month, even though she just makes about £300 a month. She always spends all the rest, £100, on new clothes. Toby says, it's a big waste, isn't it? Yes, it certainly is, Toby. My God, I'd be mortified if I spent that amount on clothes every month. Dear me. He says, I don't ruin clothes. I like to keep wearing them for years and years. What's the point of buying new clothes? I don't understand. I think the women do the worst to the earth and global warming. Now, you see, he is quite humorous, Joe and Suko. So I got all the ears started itching there. Oh, itch, itch, itch. There we are. See, he has got a sense of humour after all. And you thought he didn't have. I have to say that the first letter you sent Toby, I thought, well, you haven't got much of a... You're not a very happy person, are you? But the second email is a lot lighter than that first one. Toby goes on to say, I have no way to persuade my girlfriend to leave the new clothes alone and save her money. Otherwise, I would threaten to break up with her, wouldn't I? I know what you mean. Toby, I don't think really I have ever been someone to follow fashion or to spend a lot of money on clothes. A couple of shows ago, I mentioned to you that I've been walking down Regent Street in London, and there were people with a special offer, 2 shirts for £120. I mean, £60 for one shirt, please, absolutely not. For a new shirt, how much do I think is it fair to spend on a new shirt? £8-9 maybe. Terrible, aren't I? $20 on a new shirt. That's fair enough, isn't it? I think so. But I've never been one to spend money on clothes, really. And my clothes do last. I make them last a long time. They never really fall apart, do they? It's all well made. One more thing he says. You installed the solar panels. That's the best thing ever. But don't you worry that some natural disaster will destroy it, or some mischievous girls or boys will come and play with them. Have you got insurance for your solar panels? I think that's very important. Well, natural disasters on solar panels. What do you mean by that? If you mean something like an earthquake, well... I hate to tell you this, but here in the UK, we don't really have much earthquakes, and if we did, it'd probably take the whole house down anyway, so I'm not particularly worried about that. Other natural disasters, lightning or anything like that, I don't think a solar panel makes your house more susceptible at all to lightning or anything like that. Or, again, we don't have tornadoes or hurricanes or very, very few tornadoes here in the UK. Certainly not the sort of ones that you've seen in the Midwest in America. So, again, not really. The only thing possibly is hailstones. The panels are tested. You know, they are bombarded and tested to see how strong they are. So one would assume that they're all tested for that, all right? As for people, mischievous boys or girls coming to play with them, well, they're on the roof. So probably a bit difficult for them to get to. Maybe someone could go up a ladder and try and steal them. I don't know. But with the amount of people positioned around me, I'm not a house on its own. I would have thought a couple of ladders up there and people taking down solar panels would be a bit obvious. But I see what you're saying there, and it's probably important to do that sort of thing. So thanks very much for that, Toby, for the second email there. Anyone else wants to respond to that at all, feel free to do so, OK? Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. I'm going to give you the address now. Are you ready? Here comes the post address if you want to put pen to paper. It's Chris Reardon, United Kingdom Talk, P.O. Box 4073, Bracknell, Bracknell, RG42 9ED. Once again, it's Chris Reardon, United Kingdom Talk, P.O. Box 4073, Bracknell, Bracknell, RG429ED, United Kingdom. All right, now I've got some other emails to do here, which I'm going to have to leave to the next show because I'm very quickly running out of time now, and I've got to open this box that has arrived from Susan, and I've got hardly any time to open the thing. So here we go. I've no idea what's in this box, so you're seeing it come out of the box. We've only got a minute left. I've only got a minute left. Hang on. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited, and I just can't. Oh, it's a hat! It's a hat! I can't believe it. It's a JR hat. Look at this. Oh, yes. Oh, I like it. And there's a big envelope. I'll have to open the envelope on the next show. Look at this. Susan sent me out. Oh, thank you ever so much, Susan. Now, how do I wear this? Like that? It's the Village People again, isn't it? Young man, there's a place here for you. I said, yeah. Oh, thank you, Susan. Have I got time to read this? To JR, she says, no to CR. From Sue Ellen, no from Susan. I haven't got time to read this, Susan. I'm so sorry. I will read it at the beginning of the next show, OK? Thanks for joining me. The email address, once again, is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Bit of serious programme today, haven't we? We'll be a bit more light-hearted next time. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. See you in the next show. Bye-bye now.